It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our weekly wrap-up of what's been going on this week. And welcome everybody to our drop that over there. So I didn't get everything moved over to Substack this week, so we'll just have to look at a poor version of it. If I can figure out what buttons to push here to get the screen to share. We'll put our little puppy co-host down in the bottom, and we'll just follow along on the YouTube here. So on Fridays, we take a look at what has been going on in the week. And I'm guessing my audio is okay because I just heard it. Crump is joining us. Welcome. Good seeing you last week. So taking a look at what's been going on with our Second Amendment focused stuff on the week during the week. And it's pretty decent week, I guess, for news. Lots of stuff going on for sure. Trying it is a challenge. We do have a poll going over on the YouTube, the main YouTube side. Thanks to Gizzard for sending people over. And if I can get the poll to pop back up. I didn't end the poll, did I? Whenever Gizzard's little indicator there pops away. There we go. We'll see the poll again. So we ask every week, how was the week for 2A? You can answer great, good, okay, or bad. Feel free to leave a comment on why you answered the way you did. And we're going to scroll down a little bit. So throughout the week, I typically will kind of keep track of what I've been paying attention to that was focused on what our Second Amendment protects. And I tagged that in this video for a couple of reasons. One, so we can summarize at the end of the week, give everybody it's one thing to listen to that kind of finds stuff you might have not discovered. Summarize some of the stuff you may not have had time to listen to. But we also take this list of stuff and we post it on quite a few different places out there as often as possible, each week ideally. So the first place we posted is on Patreon, or what we consider our Patreon, essentially our blog, or one of our blogs, our main blog. It gives us a way to format so it looks a lot better than this YouTube video description does, and it's more permanent. And of course our Patreons, people that subscribe to our projects, that's the way that we keep in touch with them, and again we use that as our main archive. Then we've got the newsletter, which every week we attempt to post a newsletter with all this information and whatever else we came up with there during the week. We put all this on Substack, which is normally what we would look at on this video, because it just looks the best out of all these different sources. And then we post things on Instagram. So the idea is to take what is focused on what our Second Amendment protects, right? Focused on 2A, and post that on a couple of different platforms. Now, in addition, we'll post that over on Minds and on Locals and on MeWe and a couple of other platforms that have act as both backups and just other places. People that don't go to the main platforms might use those, and kind of a way to keep in touch. So feel free to use any of those ways to provide feedback or comment on the video or the weekly wrap-up. And we see all the comments on all those platforms. So digging into the news of the week here, then we'll get into the videos and things that happened on YouTube mostly that were focused on 2A. Then we'll get into the stuff that was focused on guns. Of course, we had SHOT Show last week, so a lot of stuff has been focused on that. There's some radio shows that we pay attention to. We have the gun calendars. We'll take a look at what's coming up and what's been happening over there. There's a couple of interview shows that I pay attention to on the regular, and I'll bring those up. And then the stuff that we did. We wrap it up with the stuff that we worked on each week. So with that, we want to say thanks to the people joining us live. I do these shows live as opposed to some kind of prepared or scripted show. So because of the interactive nature of the internet, I really value that. So be part of the show. Use the comments. We're using StreamYard, so it gives us a chance to post stuff like Crump over here or Wood saying hello. Good evening. All right, so it's kind of small on the screen. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of using the YouTube description for this, but we'll make do. So what I'll do is I'll pop it from being full screen, and we'll zoom this over like this, and that gives us a little bit easier screen to look at, or a little bit more to look at on the screen, I guess. All right, so getting into the news of the week, I tell you what, I really, 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 really wish I had the ability to do the current events in Second Amendment the way I'd like to. I'm going to take a quick second here and jump over to some pictures. And where would it be? I think it would probably be on Monday that I went over to. Nope, it would be Sunday, I bet. Could it be Sunday? It could definitely be Sunday. It is. So let's take a look at this photograph. Oops, it popped up over here. So this photograph here is of one of the casinos in Vegas. And I always think of this when I think about this show. Ideally, this was when some football game was happening, so it was on like a majority of these screens. But this is just a giant room. There's all these people betting, I guess, on different things. But there'll be horse races up here. Like, if we looked around, there's all these scoreboards telling you scores. And then there's different screens showing you stuff. Usually it's all different kinds of games and races and things that they're paying attention to. There's somebody's betting on this kind of game and this tennis or whatever it is. And in this one, it happens to be when some football game was happening. But you can see all these horse races and stuff are happening all over. And they just have all this stuff happening. And then at the bottom, you've got all these different scores going on. So how come there isn't something like this in a website for what's going on around the country? Because there's so much stuff going on. It's driving me nuts trying to figure out how to create something like this. So this is one of the weeks where it gets crazy. So I use a couple of sources to keep track of this stuff. We're going to take a moment here, show you the puppy, and I'm going to drink some coffee here. If you don't say anything, I just have to take breaks like this, and it'll just be quiet breaks with the puppy. All right, we'll go back to the show. All right, so a lot of stuff happened this week. Trying to keep track of it is about insane. So I got a couple of things I do to try to keep track. One of them is the NSSF's newsletter, essentially. But I subscribe to a bunch of different newsletters and try to keep track of news that's coming in from different places. And I keep, I only bring up the stuff that's focused on what our Second Amendment protects. But let's dig in. So there's that Mexico is suing U.S. manufacturers for $10 billion, and it sounds like that could be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. So that's interesting and annoying and a waste of money. Then we've got the U.S. District Court struck down California's background check. I'm sure there's lots of videos out there. Crump is out here. I'm sure he's done videos on that one. So, what does it say in Bacon Bit? Let me get this dog here. So we're just going to take a second here. And there's a lot of people that don't appreciate this, that say I shouldn't do stuff like this. But you see this dog sleeping? He's just trying to sleep. He's trying to enjoy himself, have a nice nap. I'm sleeping all day, and I'm going to go ahead and manhandle him a little bit. There we go. This is how you know he's a real animal, not some kind of robot with just some sort of bio skin on him. Robot wouldn't tolerate this. He's very fluffy today. For whatever reasons, he's very fluffy in this whole region. Oh, look, I went from a whole bunch of viewers to half as many viewers. You rub a puppy like this in the middle of a show, bad for viewers. A bunch of people just left. All right, well, so we'll go back to the news, I guess. A lot of people don't like that. They left because of the puppy rubbing. It's not the puppy's fault, but he is puppy co-host and he is fluffy today, so he got himself rubbing. So the ammo background check is over, but the regular background check is okay? I have no idea. I'm barely keeping track of the stuff that's going on out there, but I did see that this thing had gone onto the radar of NSSF. Each of these is the headlines from a story, and I didn't read all the stories, so I'm not sure of all the additional repercussions there. But it does say also struck down the portion of the law that banned Californians from purchasing ammunition in other states and transporting the ammunition into the state. Somebody was saying that that shop in Washington was sending double the ammo to people in California that were ordering. So I'm sure Californians are happy to be able to get ammo, and I'm wondering what that's doing to ammo prices. So it's one of those reasons why it's always a good idea to buy ammo when you go to gun shops and go to gun shows, so that you dollar cost average ammo all the time, because it's almost always going up in price. Things like this can affect the price for a while, or maybe for a good long time. I have no idea. I'm not paying attention, but potentially this could affect the price of ammo if all of a sudden Californians can purchase, if they've got a bunch of money and a thirst for ammo. Let's see. So I found it says that the ATF is preparing a 1,300-page document to justify the 94-page proposed rule to redefine who's engaged in business. So because the Republican-backed bipartisan gun control from 2022 changed one word in the definition of who does business, now the ATF is going to lean into, like, press the issue of who needs to be an FFL. And of course, they won't change their policy on who can be an FFL, therefore creating a rock and a hard place, a catch-22, a situation where you can't sell guns, period. You have to be an FFL to be able to sell any gun. It's ridiculous. So it's very difficult to not say that this is a very important time to be paying attention to gun stuff, but Second Amendment stuff specifically. I don't see people doing that right now. So it's going to be a frustrating time for a little while. What was you saying? I watched the show to see what 3 things I want to go back and see. There's 3 things. I get that though. Let's see. So then Republican state attorney generals warn against targeting Lake City ammunition. So I put that in here before I realized just how many topics there are this week, because that one's almost insignificant, which is a shame because it's a positive thing. That every single, Republican state attorney generals. So, making it partisan. But it is significant that the state attorney generals are willing to challenge, the executive branch for potentially using ammo supply as a tool of leverage or influence politically. Then we get to, again, there's this email that I was going from, the newsletter that I was going from, ended up being very long. So at some point here, I stopped posting things, but there's many, many more. The next one was that the president was threatening a war on gun owners. And that was, again, one of these things, because there's so many topics, there's so many issues this week in their update, that this one could almost go unnoticed or overlooked or disregarded because of its lack of importance. But the fact that the executive branch is in an election year focused on law abiding and persecuting law abiding, creating new, ways to bother the law abiding, as opposed to, like, if they're actually concerned in what they claim to be concerned about, going after the criminals. But even more so, the fact that they're going after guns at all instead of the more important issues out there. Super frustrating. So, again, this one's hardly an issue when you look at it compared to some of the others that are super important. But that's where we lose if we don't pay attention to the small stuff while the big stuff is being addressed also, right? We can do more than one thing at a time. That being said, it sounds like he freaking signed an executive order to mandate safe storage of firearms. What the fuck is that? So I don't know if that's legit or not. I haven't seen any actual news on that other than this in this newsletter. But if that's the case, why the hell aren't we hearing about this? I don't know how they're going to enforce that, of course, but ridiculous. You'd be challenging this to the people in the middle who might think this is an idea that has value. So, and then, of course, hold accountable those people that would just casually create these, not just infringements, but nanny state, is a nice way to say it, but essentially fascist, draconian laws. So they're going to suggest safe storage of firearms. Where's the safe storage of prescription drugs? Where's the safe storage of alcohol? There's, according to the CDC, who's tasked with keeping these numbers for the government, there are 100,000, was it 97 or 107? I forget. Well, let's just say 97,000 deaths from alcohol each year. On, the worst case scenario, you could say 40,000 deaths from a firearm. Of course, more than half of those are from suicide. And, so you're talking twice as many deaths are from alcohol, yet there's no suggestion of safe storage of alcohol. Or what if you have children and, you're going to allow alcohol to just be on the streets? So this is more than just overreach. It's craziness and it's distraction and it's frustrating. But that's where I started drawing the line, because otherwise YouTube only gives you 5,000 characters, and we're up to about 4,000 characters with today's page or post, I guess. So I had to draw the line here, but there's so many more things. We haven't even started we haven't even finished the national level stuff that's going on. And then all the state level stuff that's happening. Massachusetts under massive attack. Washington's getting wailed on again. I don't think Oregon's under anything imminent. California has some weird stuff happening, as Woods alluded to there, with the background checks. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Then we have South Carolina and addressing some of the positive stuff there. I'm not sure. There was like a but somewhere in the constitutional carry that South Carolina passed. We've got I'm missing stuff. Like I say, there's just so much to keep track of. It's unreasonable for us to try to keep track of this in our heads. On a good day, when you're able to really pay attention to this stuff, it's a challenge. When you've got other things going on in the world, and this is something you're trying to keep track of also, it's impossible, right? When we shouldn't be limited to what we can keep track of in our heads. So hopefully, I know that some of the national level organizations have got some projects out there, some pages on their sites to keep track of this stuff. But again, we'll have to take a look at Hey Jackass one of these days and see if we can't backwards engineer some way to keep kind of more of a scoreboard going. All right, that being said, thanks everybody for joining us. See hillbillies out there. Woods was saying, let's see. I only have time to watch 3. Gotta limit it. Family, work, and stuff. Oh, I got you. Presidents say dumb shit all the time, literally, weekly, both brands. Oh, for sure. Oh, my goodness. Drinking coffee and I'm yawning. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Second Amendment stuff that happens each week. And if this was over on... Actually, let's just take a second and jam this over to... what's it called? The... oh, man, it's not going to take it. I guess I can't. This already abbreviated all the links, so I can't. I was going to copy and paste it over to Substack so we could see some of the thumbnails, make it a lot more interesting to look at, but too much work for this show right now. So the first thing, though, each week is typically Brooke Jeannie's project for Suicide Prevention Saturday. Again, if you count all the deaths that happen with a firearm, their number isn't that big in relation to other things out there, especially the medical community. The other things that the ATF is concerned with, the 500,000 deaths from tobacco and almost 100,000 deaths from alcohol. The 40,000 or less from firearms, where more than half of them are from suicide. It's very small, but it's what the people who are anti-rights, the anti-gun people, they will stand on those deaths, and they will include the suicides whenever necessary to make the deaths look larger, make the number of deaths look larger, and they'll completely ignore suicides when time comes to talk about policy or any of the failures of their suggestions, like their ideas or their concepts. So typically their solution is, of course, to be laser focused on one dangerous item, the gun, the thing that they hate, the thing that they're afraid of, the thing that they don't understand, the thing that they're happy to take away from the law-abiding, because the law-abiding typically will hand over a gun when the government tells them to. But of course, the antis will never, very rarely, if ever, give any lip service, let alone any policy or actual discussion to prevention of suicide, the policies or the precursors of what the stressors for suicide, or the dealing with it, other than writing a number on a screen or something like that. So in contrast to that, Brooke every Saturday does a show where she focuses in some way or another on normalizing the discussion about mental health awareness, suicide prevention, of the awareness of these topics, so that we can have more useful, more effective conversations about these topics. Literally the best thing that happens on a weekly basis consistently over the years that I've been paying attention to gun stuff and Second Amendment stuff specifically. Brooke does this project, makes no money doing it, just does it in different, interesting, useful ways every single week. And no one is that consistent at all. And no one is focused on a very, very important part of what we've got going on. As Brooke can be more successful with her project and more people are aware of it and utilize her talking points and skill sets, we'll move on from the quagmire that we're in, the back and forth ping pong game that we're in. But till then, we'll keep talking about other stuff that's going on. So it is Every Second Matters, and that's a project that started in 2013. So it's an old project for a bunch of YouTubers when we used to chat together in the in these live conversations. We saw that the challenge to Obama's executive actions back in 2022, the end of 22, the beginning of 23, that was done. The challenge to those executive actions was a grassroots effort. No single entity, no single voice, rallied people to resist. It was just, in general, people resisted the concept of gun owners are responsible for the ills of society, and your property needs to be removed, and people challenged that. And at the end of 2013, a lot of us saw that with the whoops, what happened here? Saw that with the success of that resistance. A lot of us saw that. There we go. we saw that with the success of that resistance, there was a bit of apathy. Like everyone was starting to go, oh, you know what? It's what's going on? I guess I'm looking at the same thing here. Sorry, it threw me for a loop. I guess I'm looking at the same thing. But we all kind of saw that people were resting. We saw that, the resistance had worked and that Obama had kind of laid off of it, and he figured out that you couldn't do anything to our rights. But we knew that that was only going to last for a certain amount of time, that eventually the antis would come back again. They would challenge our rights or our resolve. So what could we do to create a resistance to the apathy, something to keep a focus on what our Second Amendment protects? And the long story short is we came up with doing something on the 2nd of each month. We call it Every Second Matters, and it's whatever you want to do. As long as it's cool and has something to do with what our Second Amendment is focused on. The idea is just that we don't want to forget that we have the ability to resist when we're challenged with bullshit, essentially. We see a lot of that. We see uneducated people. We see very educated people who will hide behind ignorance and make things difficult to understand. They'll push, nibble against the rights of the law-abiding, again, to either distract from failed policy or to have something to blame when they don't want to do the work that's really necessary. So rather than just being upset about their complaining about our rights and our property, we try to, on the 2nd of the month, every month, do something to create awareness of what that Second Amendment protects. And their concept of taking away just one dangerous thing isn't going to solve everything. They have a laser focused on this one particular thing because it really matters. It's not like they're going after knives first. They didn't go after stairway accidents first because they're so worried about people. They didn't go after the accidents in school buses first because they're so worried about kids' lives. They're going after guns, and they're hiding behind people's lives because they know that guns are important for lots and lots of reasons. So anyway, it's the 2nd of the month, and it is Our Second Matters, and a couple of people post on the regular about that. Some people participate every once in a while. Some people come and go, and that's what it's all about, just keeping the awareness of what that Second Amendment's all about alive. And thanks to the people who keep it going. Yankee did a big show on it. Kingpin constantly posts about it. Foss does some creative stuff each week, or each year, not each month, I guess. And the others, people that post patches and logos and other ways, sometimes just guns and stuff. It's awesome. It's cool to see people keeping it going. There's no incentive. There's no reason to. There's no nobody owns it. It's just a thing that people choose to do and have fun with. All right. So with that being said, we'll move on to the Guns and Mental Health podcast, which is the Walk the Talk America, another project at the national level, funded project of both the firearms industry and medical professionals that focus on the intersection of guns and mental health. And they do a podcast on the regular each week, not every week, but on the regular, a weekly podcast. And this week they were talking about the use of, I guess it was the use of hallucinogenics for mental health. That was interesting. There's lots of military people that end up doing different kinds of therapies, and then other people who have different kinds of stress and life situations have used therapeutic hallucinogenics to as therapy, I guess. So then we have Professor Yamane posted a couple of things that are in the list this week, and one of these is it's an article, I guess, from the Boston something or another. and it was abbreviated. So I think it's the Boston Tribune or the Boston Times, whatever the Boston newspaper is. And some EMT slash paramedic. So whatever, that's like saying, oh, I'm a nurse slash doctor. Like an EMT is different than a paramedic. So usually paramedics don't say EMT slash paramedic because that's like a doctor saying, oh, I'm a nurse. Oh, no, I'm a doctor. So anyway, person who is in the medical field and hates guns because guns are the only problem, I guess, and bought a gun, wrote an article about how they bought a gun to know what it's like to own a gun, and then talk about how it's in a drawer. They take it out and hold it. They take it out and hold it out and feel bad about it because they own it, and then write this article about it. So an interesting article. Professor Yamane is being gracious when he described the article, but after reading the article, it's obviously engineered, highly engineered, to hit every talking point for the horrible bullshit that's going on in Massachusetts right now, to justify the dumbass shit that they're doing in Massachusetts. So essentially, Massachusetts has pretty high amount of violence, one of the higher amounts of violence in that region. And it has to do with the cities in that region that are failing and have, bad policy. And so there's reasons for violence. There's people that are violent. However, in Massachusetts, it's possible to beat and not die because of the excellent medical care, from what I understand. So they don't have a lot of death from firearms, but they do have quite a bit of violence. And they're attempting to suggest that because they have a need for more gun control, that even though they have a ton of gun control and it hasn't been perfect, it must be great. Like it's working really well, and they just need a little bit more and it'll be even better, essentially, is what they're suggesting in Massachusetts. So they're using Massachusetts as a test to see if they can push horrible, like some of the worst gun control packages that I've seen packaged together ever, on top of some of the stuff that's already some of the worst gun control. They already have one of the worst situations for freedom there. And they're taking, the legislators taking another pile of anti-gun stuff and layering it on top to make it essentially the worst. It'll make it by far the worst state for guns, period. So it seems like this is about to happen without the Senate, the state Senate, paying attention to the to the constituents at all. They're just gonna push it right through, and then the governor will definitely okay it. So this is an article that is designed to, like, essentially justify or describe why you would need all of this huge list of stupid laws that they're coming up with. And pretty sad that instead of being well, that's all they're going to get from the other side, I suppose, is a bunch of narrative. They're not going to get debate. They're not going to get any actual conversation. They're not going to get any attention paid to the failed policy that creates the violence. They're just going to look at the one implement of violence that they choose to, and then persecute anybody who legally owns that. Anyhow, so we'll move on to the California ammo background check being deemed unconstitutional, and I think that's the 2A cops. I use their video. There's lots of videos out there talking about this stuff. Woods is taking off to go to sleep. I hear that. I'm falling asleep myself over here. Oh, I think it is raining. I was wondering what that noise is, but I took a long enough pause there. It sounds like it's raining out there. I got a lot of leaks. I don't like it when it rains, really. I don't care about rain one way or the other, but when I got roof leaks, I don't like it raining. All right, so we'll take a look at that was all the 2A stuff that I had listed. There was a lot more stuff this week, but I just had this much time. I only have this much time to pay attention to stuff. So I don't say that this is the all-inclusive list of what's going on each week. It's the list of stuff that I come up with. And we want to thank our Patreons to give me any time to do this kind of stuff, but because there are projects that we're working on constantly and updating, there are things that, or there are shows and stuff that I'll listen to while we're doing some of that maintenance work. And that's what we're listing here. So talking about SHOT Show, they came up with some numbers from the show. 55,000 attendees, which makes it the largest one to date. 2,600 companies. They said something like 340 new companies this year. And then 13.9, so you might as well say 14 miles of aisles. And I think it used to be 12, if I'm correct. So, growing a little bit. And it didn't seem that full. So for it to be the largest one to date, it definitely didn't feel like the aisles were full. And I walked most of the time. I didn't really stand around too often. If I did, it was just for a little while and kept walking. So I saw a lot of the show. I didn't just stand and watch the show happen around me so often. So it's possible that I missed crowds, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I would walk into crowds if there were a lot of crowds to be walked into. So let's keep moving. The Forge of Freedom is one of the podcasts I listen to on the regular from Indiana. And they had this conversation with Jacob Hornberger, who is the, I don't know if he's the or one of the libertarian candidates for president. And, I don't know if you're interested in libertarian stuff or not, but this is a pretty good conversation with the guy who is running. And while there's been different types of libertarian, this guy is a very, like strict libertarian, I guess, or actual libertarian. And he ran in the 90s, so he's not a new guy, and he's not inexperienced with this. And he's interesting. The people that run on the non-major ballots, understand the world we live in. So it is interesting to listen to them with their realistic perceptions of what's going on and what's possible. So next we get, again, Professor Yamane talking about some books that are out there now. And I can't remember if I listened to this video or not. I sometimes post stuff in here that's worth listening to, but I may not have yet listened to it. I think I did. I just think I listened to it earlier in the week, and I can't think of it now as I'm getting tired. Oh, She Fires posted on Sunday, so it's definitely a show to check out on Sunday afternoons. She Fires hosts a live show, keeping a conversation going with a bunch of people who are, they're not all new to guns, but a whole bunch of people that are new to guns and learning. Then we have Brooke from Great Start Shooting School posting a bunch of her clips from the interview she did at SHOT Show. So kind of a montage, getting a kind of a sneak peek of what is to come there. Then we've got, this was it not Hackathorn? It is, what's his face? And
this is the Vantage holster right here. It is arguably the world's most
this is, it is Hackathorn and Paul Howe. So Ken Hackathorn and Paul Howe for Wilson. This is, it is Hackathorn and Paul Howe. Okay. Chatting about gizmos and gadgets on guns. And, I'm old. I don't care. I agree with them that, there's fads and there's gadgets and things, and right now you got a whole bunch of new people that are interested in buying stuff, and they don't want to buy what their grandpas had, so they're buying what they can buy, and time will tell if these things are gizmos or gadgets, or if they're fads, or if they're Waves of the Future. Then let's see. So that was interesting. I don't know. They definitely have done that conversation before, but I guess it's time to do it again. Then we have the armed attorneys posting about the funny gun signs, and they're kind of changing their mind on that one. Interesting. I was on with Yankee. I always post that link. Been chatting with those guys, Matt and Yankee, now since 2009, something like that. Long time. Then we've got the Mouse Party. Goes live every Wednesday night. Worth checking out. No overnight this week, which sucks, but in a week we get another overnight show. Then we've got the After Action. Oh my goodness. Yawns are coming out of everywhere. Whose After Action is this? Oh, this is Ghost After Action show. Was on Ghost After Action show. Also was on Chris from the 740. I got to list that one in here as well. And then it was just on with Gizzard chatting about the show. So, yeah, it was definitely a good SHOT Show. Most everybody, in fact, everybody I've talked to had a good show. So, really looking forward to what comes of the show, or what comes from the show for everybody out there. And, we'll see that over the next weeks and months, I suppose. So there's some radio shows that I listen to on the regular. Rapid Fire Radio out of Massachusetts. They've, of course, got their pending bullshit coming through at the state level. Some of the worst gun control stuff. Really, it's hard to know, which one's the worst, but I'm guessing theirs is going to be considered the worst by just about everybody. New Jersey has it pretty bad. Washington's really taken it in the knees. Oregon and Nevada have really dodged some stuff, but have taken some damage. California is constantly disadvantaged, and New York and Connecticut and some of the other states are not in a good way. But Massachusetts, I don't know if they know they got what they can just do what they want there. They're just getting beat up. So listening to the Rapid Fire Radio shows is of value. Hopefully give them some support, some extra awareness, so that people can realize that we can all help out with these states when they're getting clobbered like this. All right, so you can take a look at the calendars. I didn't type anything over here, but it's easy enough to click on that link and go check out what the calendar's got coming up. So it's the first of the month here. This was the anniversary of the ban on import of 7.62x39 back in 1994. So in a nutshell, someone made a pistol that shot 7.62x39 ammo, and that means that steel core 7.62x39 ammo could be banned from import. And the executive branch went ahead and said, let's do it. So ATF sent out a memo that said that steel core ammo could no longer be sold by dealers. And was one of the first instances of the industry. Well, it wasn't the first. It was an instance of the industry stepping on its own feet, so to speak, only because the regulation and enforcement was being used as a weapon, was being used punitively. Woods is saying, I didn't see much new innovation out of SHOT Show like the 375 Bishop or the Altor this year. Well, I talked to the ounce pistol people, and they said they shot 5,000 rounds out of one gun in one day. Talked to them a couple of times. I talked to the people that make the Wii 15. They're the JR 15, I guess, the Wii tactical people. They rebranded twice now, and they have their scaled down AR in 22, but they also have an AK coming out in 22. So that's pretty cool to see a U.S. made AK and 22 long rifle, all scaled down to be a smaller, like a cricket. So that's pretty awesome. That's my favorite thing from the show. It's, I think, pretty innovative. Then they have that bat, that little thumper bat from someplace, Blackheart or something like that. And that thing was pretty neat. There was quite a few 9mm guns that are built off of the Scorpion magazine. So if you listen to people who we know, they all say they didn't go downstairs. So I spent as much time downstairs as I spent anywhere else. There's at least one company here in Arizona that makes a 9mm pistol thing / rifle that is not an AR-15 that'll be compliant in states like Massachusetts where they can't have ARs. So there was those kind of guns, and then I couldn't keep track of all the lever guns. So there was some stuff that was new this year. Now, there was some other stuff that was new that I wasn't paying attention to, like that Diamondback revolver and stuff like that, too. Any of the presidents could have changed that, yeah. And then somebody also said that there was a lot of monolithic uppers. So AR-15s where the upper receivers and the handguards are all one piece. And I'll have to take their word for it because I wasn't really paying that much attention. So going back to the calendar, we've got the Great American Outdoor Show is starting tomorrow. So that's a show that lasts for 2 different weekends. So it's a very long show. A lot of the people that go to SHOT Show, some of the people that go to SHOT Show go out to that. There's also an industry buying show this weekend. As far as we have an anniversary tomorrow of Hudson Maxim. Hudson Maxim is the brother of the machine gun guy, and he's the uncle of the suppressor guy. But they all have the same Maxim name. But Hudson Maxim is the guy that invented smokeless powder here in the United States. So somebody else invented smokeless powder in Europe, and they fight over who actually invented it. But Hudson Maxim, the brother of the machine gun guy and the uncle of the suppressor guy, was born tomorrow. Let's see, the USO is founded in 1941 this weekend. Eric Sykes is born this next week. He's the Sykes Fairbairn dagger guy. Then we have Sir Hiram Stephen Maxim. So the other guy was Hudson Maxim. Now Sir Hiram is the machine gun guy. He has a son, and his son is Percy, and his son is the guy who invented the suppressor. Now, they're all named Maxim, so a bunch of people that half-ass it will say that the same guy that invented the machine gun invented the suppressor and smokeless powder. But in fact, it's a guy, his brother, and the guy's son are the 3 people that we're talking about. To make it even more difficult, they're all born and passed away like in February, pretty much. So they all born and died. Like anniversaries are on these, like in the next couple of weeks. So it's very difficult to keep track of them all. But there you go. J.M. Davis from J.M. Davis Museum passed away when he was 85 years old. That'll be coming up this week. Another anniversary of someone passing away is Mosen. He passed away coming up this week back in 1902. And the last thing we'll talk about this next coming week is that Boy Scouts were founded back in 1910, and they got destroyed back in 2018 or 2019. Agrizers out there, welcome. So that's the guncalendars.com. Again, thanks to our Patreons. Let us work on some of these projects. We're gun websites because way before YouTube and everything, we were building websites. So we have things like guncalendars.com, and we're not selling anything over there. I mean, I probably should put some calendars up here for sale, but it's really just a place for us to post a calendar so that people can see, what's coming up. But also these firearms events, I guess we could have flipped over here also and mentioned that we have a rally coming up here in Arizona on the 17th. So February 17th. Then we've got, what else do we have coming up in February? The Ambassador Academy is happening in February of this year. So that's a event or a school out in Florida where people go to learn how to become an ambassador for the industry. Let's see what else is happening this month. I don't think we got anything else happening this quick in the year. There's probably another show, but no, not even. Yep, the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo is coming up this next week in Salt Lake City. That was the other thing. Also, the Wild Turkey Convention. National Wild Turkey Federation has their convention each year, and I think it travels. This year it's in Tennessee. And that'll be everything. Well, soon we got Blade Show Texas. So there's there's 3 Blade shows every year. One's in Texas, one's in Georgia, and one is in, I think, Nevada. But the one in Texas will be coming up here in February. But anyway, that's all the stuff we try to keep track of over on guncalendars.com. And thanks again to our Patreons for the servers, really. The little bit of software it takes, like I think we're now paying for that calendar software. Technically, it's not expensive or anything. And then the time, really, it's just the time it takes to update the calendar and keep it updated and current. So we really, really do appreciate that. So we don't have to keep ads all over there. And it's because of that scroll at the bottom of the screen. I think we have about 98 Patreons right now. If you'd like to be a Patreon, it'd be awesome. We have a bunch of patches from SHOT Show. Those are going to be going out to Patreons as a way to say thanks. So it's a great time to jump on board, be a Patreon. If you're a Patreon for $5 a month, that'd be $60 a year. Doesn't seem like a lot. It certainly is a bunch to us because I'm not independently wealthy. I wish I could do all this gun stuff, just do nothing but this stuff, but it does not pay the bills. So this gives me the time to keep the servers online, and a little bit of software is paid for, but then take the time each week, to do this stuff. So really do appreciate it. Let's see. Then we've got the interviews that I like to watch, and there's a bunch. I missed some of them at SHOT Show, so I've been catching up on them. But the one that's probably the quickest to check out is from Team House. And this is, they had 2 guys on this time. They had another guy, one of these guys on, I think the Frank. They had him on a while back, maybe a year ago. And he is an ATF agent. He was an ATF agent who went undercover with the biker gangs in Detroit. And then they had this guy on this week called Kaz. And he was with he went undercover as ATF with biker gangs in LA. And it's like a 2-hour plus conversation with these guys talking about infiltrating biker gangs as ATF, and did it successfully 3 times to the same gang. How crazy is that? Same dude infiltrated the gang all the way into getting his colors, and then busted everybody and kept in contact with the people he busted, somehow got it back and did it again, and then did it a 3rd time. It's crazy. So anyway, very interesting. And then there was a couple others. There was the Combat Story's been doing some interviews with French Pilot. Those are pretty fun to listen to. And I haven't listened to Mike Drop at all, so I have no idea what he's doing actually. All right, with that, we can wrap it up with what we did this week, and mostly it was some SHOT Show stuff, and actually that's it. So I did a pretty bad coaching show, but sometimes you got to phone it in, sometimes you got to do the show even if you don't have anything planned, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, and this week it didn't work really well. So next week, hopefully we can get back on track with the coaching show. Really like to get some people in to chat about their experiences at SHOT specifically, not just like in general, but specifically how things went for them, if that's interesting to people and if it would be useful. We've got a uh, scheduled. We have a guest scheduled for not next Monday, but the Monday after. So I'm going to be trying to get somebody on for next Monday, the 5th. And then on the 12th, we'll have Matt Mallory from Meet the Pressers. He'll be joining us, do an interview with him. And so stay tuned for the Monday interview series to kind of catch back on. But as we close out of here tonight, we'll take a look at the poll. And with a whole bunch of people voting, we had 50% voting for good week, 38% voting for great week, and 12% voted okay week. Nobody, 0% voted for bad week. So I'll end it. That's an interesting result. Good to see, I guess. So nobody really mentioned why they voted the way they did, but feel free to, if you're listening to this in the future, you are part of the show, just in a time shift type of situation. So leave some comments on what you thought was going on this week, best things, worst things, what we should be looking forward to next week or in the future. And we will be back potentially tomorrow. We'll see if Tony can get together and do a Ask Gun Questions tomorrow. Curious to see how his show went and how his adventures went getting back to New Jersey and how he got back on the clock and stuff. Vulcan is saying everything went well. Right on. Thanks for the feedback on that. But otherwise, if we're not here tomorrow, then check out Suicide Prevention Saturday. We assume Brooke will be doing her show again tomorrow. There's no Foss doing the overnight on Saturday tomorrow, but I suspect Hillbilly will be doing his show. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we're going to throw a commercial up here for our store. This is definitely the time to grab stuff from our Gear website store. We definitely will be doing some Free Patch Friday fun. See you next time.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Asking, what do we know about the corporation LNA? Looks like it's a movie or something. I don't know. I see stuff about a movie from Canada or something, but I'm not sure. Feel free to leave another note or whatever with what you got, what you're talking about there. I was going to end it with rubbing a puppy butt though, because why not? Puppy sitting here right here, looking like his butt needed to be rubbed a little bit. Thanks everybody for joining us. Manufacturer of the Apollo 11 pistol. Oh, very interesting. I know that the guns that they made for space were, super interesting prototypes. We all know the AR-7, right? That is essentially, kind of a version of one of those, or a descendant of one of those types of guns. Interesting. I'm wondering if I ever seen one of those at one of the space museums. Now that I'm thinking about it, me and Bob went to a couple of space museums. Oh, I hear that. Especially when you're trying to do it quickly at the end or whatever, because that's when it's not going to listen the best. Let's see. So we got lots of interesting stuff coming in from SHOT. So I will be continuing to post stuff there. Lots of gear. Like I say, grab stuff from our store, this is the time to do it. Lots and lots of patches from SHOT Show this year. And thanks again to our Patreons. We'll take some of that Patreon funds and send a bunch of patches out to other folks that are creating content that probably didn't grab enough patches for themselves. So they've got them for giveaways and stuff. So anyway, thanks again to Vulcan for the questions at the end here. We will be back to pick you up later.